And now I am going to be in conversation with three wonderful people, so help me welcome them. We'll start with Jessamyn Shams-Lau. Where are you, Jessamyn? Yay! She's a philanthropy, creativity, and well-being consultant. And then we'll go to Ramsés Gómez, who is the head of advocacy and collaboration in Betterfly, which I love. Come on in. And then we have Suparna Diwakar, Director of Social for Regenerative Development. Thank you. Come on in. Welcome, everyone, to this wonderful gathering. We thought we start the conversation of something personal and something professional. So I want to start with you, Jessamyn, to tell us a little bit about a personal story about who you are beyond your professional work, but then also go and tell us more about the cohort and the community that you are representing here in the Wellbeing Summit. So I'll start with Jessamyn.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Jessamyn Shams-Lau, and a little personal tidbit about me. I just had a baby last year. She is 11 months old now, so I'm definitely feeling that separation anxiety. But that's also part of the reason, though we all have plenty of reason not to leave the house for the past 2 years. So now when I get the chance, I wear whatever makes me the happiest, because otherwise I can sweat. And I am part of the conversation today representing the Learning Partner Group, the Learning Partner Group. It's a group of global leaders from all over the world representing various institutions, business, philanthropy, other organizations. And we essentially play a role of exploring and advising the Wellbeing Project's work, the way it's disseminated, the way it develops going forward. And we also each work on developing well-being within our own spheres of influence, whichever organizations we're representing.
Beautiful, thank you. And I have to say, we saw pictures of the babies and some photo and videos of the babies, and we're all giggling in the backstage in here. So thank you so much for sharing. How about you, Ramsés?
Hi everyone. I mean, first of all, so happy to be here. And by being here with all of you, not only the three of us, but being here together after so many years of not being able to see each other in person, I think it's fantastic. And something personal, yeah, absolutely. I got married, people. So super happy about it. And the only reason, I mean, it's not a minor reason, right? But the reason I'm saying this is because it's a direct result of being part of the Wellbeing Project. Because I have been putting so much effort into building my personal career and my professional career, right? But the personal component of my humanity, I had forgotten about it. And I had put so much intention and energy into the professional life. But it was because of the Wellbeing Project that it was so evident that I needed to go beyond that. And I thank the Wellbeing Project for my wife.
That's so beautiful.
And
so
happy
beautiful.
to tell you about my cohort really quickly, even though it has been one of the most delightful things I've been part of in the past years. I've been part of the ecosystem network, and it's integrated by mostly social entrepreneurs. The majority of them are Ashoka Fellows, but also people from the media, from the art, from the philanthropy world. So it's a very diverse ecosystem network, of course. Right?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Suparna, how about you?
Well, right now I'm really grateful to be here in this wonderful community. And I came from India. Last week it was at 49 degrees. So the weather here is glorious. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm part of the WISE network, which is part of the Wellbeing Project. Basically, WISE is well-being, innovation, and social change in education. And we are a cohort. We started with about 11 institutions in higher education, which included Stanford, the University of Cape Town, the African Leadership University, ISDM, which is where I started my well-being journey. And right now, the network has grown to about 68 institutions this year, and looking to go to about 100 in this year, 2022-23. So it's a community that's really growing. The cohort has been working on looking at how do we integrate into curriculum in higher education. So there's been a lot of work that we've done in terms of research, in terms of looking at piloting initiatives, integrating into the daily practice of students. So the communities, we have had a lot of meetings and conversations, a lot of learning from each other. And so very excited to be here and also to continue the conversation in the network.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, we want to start with the personal because I feel like we always go back to business directly, and I really appreciate, Ramsés, what you said, and everyone, actually, what you said about the personal story, because that's part of who we are as full individuals, only our professional lives. But I do want to now go into the professional because I'm curious about how have your work or the sector that you're working in changed from when you first started to where it is right now? What is where's the main difference in your opinion and some of the lessons learned from that?
Yeah. So I joined the Learning Partner Group about 6 years ago, and I come from the funding community, so I used to run a foundation, and many of us in the group are also part of the funding world as well. So I'll speak to what I know and talk about the reaction of funders that I've noticed. And I think when we first started, there were some of us who, I don't know if you've noticed, but philanthropy professionals and funders as institutions, we all have a little bit of an insecurity complex. We're always trying to make sure that, we've got enough paperwork to make us look rigorous, or, we know all of the acronyms, and we know how to use the buzzwords and everything. And anyway, being into the well-being community was very different. And I think philanthropy didn't really have permission to engage in the idea of well-being. It was viewed as kind of this woo-woo kind of area that people do over there, not for us. We're too rigorous. And so there's definitely some hesitancy that I think funders who maybe had an inkling that we wanted to be part of this, but didn't really know how to engage, didn't really know how to let our guard down. And fast forward 6 years later, and I think we all just kind of breathe a sigh of relief when we walk into the room for our Wellbeing Project meetings for the Learning Partner Group. There's just kind of a relief that this is the place that I can be my whole self. I bring my professional, I bring my humanity. And I think we've all built up, a group permission to be able to talk about well-being as much as possible, to take it back to our organizations. And so I've seen that within the group, and I also just actually wanted to share an illustration that I've seen outside of the group too, within the funding community. So I was recently hosting some calls for funders, any funder could join, and talk about how well-being intersects with philanthropy. And we had many topics and ideas were raised, but there was a moment when I realized we were actually getting to something real and deep and systemic as well. And it was when not one, but 3 different people contributed to a conversation around white supremacy culture and internalized capitalism. And all of a sudden, there was this conversation around, wait, why is that a part of what we're doing? And there was a quote that I wanted to read, and somebody said, "It feels like we've adopted the culture of what we're trying to change." And I was like, we're finally recognizing it. We're finally giving ourselves permission to actually address history, to recognize how it's showing up today and how we're perpetuating systems that we fundamentally don't agree with. So I think that is the biggest change, is that we're finally developing the language, the comfort, the permission to truly face what's at the root cause of our ineffectiveness, of our unwellness as a system and an actor within this ecosystem of social change.
That is so important. It's not only the language, it seems that the will to reflect, self-reflect as well, and to discuss it outside of your personal selves. Yeah? That's fantastic.
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
I'm sure. Yeah.
The conversation is just beginning, but the conversation wasn't there a few years ago.
Excellent. Wow. Amazing. Thank you. Really, thank you so much. Ramsés, how about you? How did your sector change from when you first started to where you are right now?
Thank you. Thank you for asking the question. And thank you for asking the question and giving me the opportunity to reflect on it, because it's been really wonderful to see the changes. But yet, before I share anything, I have to say that, there is more to come that we have already accomplished, right? I think it's important to notice that, celebrate what we have done, what we have collectively achieved. But even before starting to share any systemic, cultural, structural things, because they are happening, and I'm very glad. When thinking about the way I started my journey, my well-being journey, I remember I got an invitation to go to Switzerland, and that was just amazing, right? The moment I got there, the mountains, the hotel, the community, the people, the food, my well-being was perfect right away.
And you come from a beautiful country, Mexico.
I know, right?
So,
as a Mexican,
yeah.
I'm Mexican, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember that by joining the network, it was really bizarre because I was also starting my ESL journey. So English for me is quite new. So I would listen to words that were really weird because I would directly translate on my mind, and I didn't make sense. For instance, like into the woods or forest bath. And I was kind of scared. And let's check in. But we had been there for like 2 days already, right? I was like, what's going on? And then it was really wonderful to see the evolution and then realizing that it's really important to have the language and the concepts available to actually access it. So that's one thing that we have to be, in my opinion, very empathetic towards the people that chances are will not have the access to the language nor the concepts, but they do have the meaning and the essence behind well-being. Also, it's been really fun, but I've seen really profound changes, and I want to celebrate many of my friends, like very dear friends now, not only colleagues or fellows at the program, but really dear friends. The major shift that I have seen is that we have recognized, and we're in this journey of never forgetting, that we are way more than the organization we're representing. We are way more than the role or the titles that we were assigned. That has provided so much liberation for everyone, and I can see my friends stepping, not necessarily stepping down, but stepping to the side when it comes to seeing themselves in new roles. And that's just beautiful because it gives them creative liberty and freedom to approach the problem that they want to solve in different ways. So, for instance, I have seen some of them stepping down from the executive director position into because not only is taking care of themselves, but actually opening up new possibilities for new leadership to emerge. And I think that's so important and so liberating, right? And lastly, and quickly, I wanted to share that I haven't only seen profound changes at the individual or at the organizational level, but also the structural level, on the systemic way. I have been fortunate enough to be part of Ashoka, working for Ashoka for almost 6 years, many, many years ago. And I got trained to be part of the Ashoka Fellow selection panel, right? And many of you happen to be Ashoka Fellows, and that's amazing. But we all know what it represents to be an Ashoka Fellow, right? But when I got trained, there were these criteria, very rigid criteria, and one of them was this person, no matter what, literally, at any cost, will do whatever it's needed to contribute to solve this social problem. And if you underline at any cost, that can be our well-being. And I think we have to change the structure and the narrative, and I think what I want to celebrate is that now, as I continue to be part of the Ashoka Network and the fellow panel selection process, we got a new training, and we were told very precisely that we were no longer looking for people that wants to solve challenges at any. Isn't that amazing, right? So yeah, those are some of the very few changes. And going back to my ESL journey and not understanding a thing, I was like, really? Do people need to do all of that? As a Mexican, all I need to get well-being is go out and have some tacos. But now, thankfully, I have more robust and more sophisticated techniques to go after my well-being. So that's what I wanted to
I don't know,
share.
that sounds good to me too.
That is so brilliant. I mean, it took me, I wish I knew that in my early day of social activism, because it took me a collapse and just completely the taste of life gone out of my myself. And to realize the cause we are working on does not require us to self-sacrifice. The cause does not require us to self-sacrifice. And, even in my new reiteration of my professional work, and I still have to remember, because you get excited and you want to go and you want to win and you want to contribute to whatever cause you're working on, and you sacrifice. It's so important to have that language to say, I am not as of that. The cause itself does not require me to do that. So thank you, Ramiro, so much for putting context in that. I really appreciate it. Suparna, I'm very, very interested in how have your field changed and the evolution of that in your area.
I think the COVID situation changed a lot of things. Academics doesn't look at well-being as being very rigorous. So it's always considered wishy-washy. How are you going to measure learning outcomes? How are you going to do assessment? How are you going to do evaluations? And so it becomes quite difficult to convince people in higher education about how to integrate well-being into the curriculum. I think post-COVID,
I just want to make sure your sound is out, yes?
Yeah, sound is out.
Yeah? Everyone is here. Can we fix Suparna's sound, please? Thank you.
Thanks. So I think what has happened post-COVID, also because there's been a great deal of awareness about mental health of young people. What I have been noticing is that when you do start conversations about integrating well-being, it's better received. And a lot of the sort of experimentation that's going on in academia is around how are you going to make it academically rigorous, in inverted commas, while being able to integrate theory and practice into curriculum. I think the practice part is what is extremely important. And being able to move beyond the idea that well-being is only about physical dimension, because there's been a lot of work around people going to the gym and doing yoga, et cetera, But I think the idea of the holistic idea of well-being, about looking at it from a physical perspective, psychological perspective, a social well-being perspective, being able to even say how do you intellectually be well? How do you deal with cognitive dissonance, right? And the most important, I think, an openness to integrating spirituality in the idea of well-being. I think there's so much openness now to the idea that spirituality is an integral part of well-being. The idea that there is a purpose to life which is beyond materials or acquisition of material. And I think the pandemic has sort of woken people up. So I think there's a demand from young people as well to look at or to learn about how to be well in this holistic way. But there is also greater openness from a policy perspective, from the people who regulate academia. There is an openness over there. So I think we're on the right track with what's going on in higher education and to integrate well-being. I think that, the context that young people are in today, I mean, all of us, not just young people, all of us, we have on, the mother of all crises, the climate crisis. And I think we begin to think that we need to save the planet. But it's the planet, Mother Earth is going to stay on, right? For us, it's Bhudevi, very sacred. She will continue. We have to ask ourselves whether we want to save ourselves. And that's not going to happen unless we start seeing things holistically. Yes. We live in a VUCA world, and just being able to be well in a sort of loving and compassionate, the kind of things that we need to create for the future.
It's beautiful.
All of this needs to become part of academics, and I think I'm seeing that happening now.
I always say, Earth was a lover. She would have broken up with us long time ago for being the most narcissist, selfish, controlling, greedy lover that is not appreciating her. Thank God she's accepting us still in here, and so true. That is upon us to evolve and change and not solve her. But I also really appreciate, because I feel for so long, all of us, women and men included, have been leading from our mind. And when I think of what I hear from you is that we also need to lead from our hearts. And that's, for me, the spiritual language. And the integration of both of them is a full human and a full sector. I want to go into the future right now, because, what are your expectations of the future? And this could be the future of our own gathering together in Bilbao, or it could be, for the future for the community and the cohort that you're representing.
Okay, a couple of things. One, I'm super, super excited that something very tangible that is happening is we're launching a funders and wellbeing group. So that's going to be beginning at the end of this month, where funders who are interested in deepening and incorporating more wellbeing practices into the way they operate as an organization, into their funding, their relationships with grantees, all of that, we hope to be nurturing in that cohort. I think I personally really hope that the Learning Partner Group and the Wellbeing Project as a whole continues to have the discussion about how racial equity and racial justice is inextricably intertwined with well-being, and perhaps use that conversation to then also explore what collective power we haven't exercised yet. I think there's a lot of latent power in this community that we haven't explored yet. And then just finally, in terms of right now in Bilbao, I guess if there are any funders in the audience, I would just really, really encourage you to try not to solve this week. Try not to judge, to give advice, to expect to be pitched. Everybody's job this week, and funders, you too, is to listen. It's to learn, to observe, and most of all, just to really feel what it is that we're trying to build together, and to feel that collective humanity of people dedicating their careers and their lives to social change.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful, truly. And needed. Such timely discussion, and it's so important. I really appreciate what you said, that well-being is not only about our mental or spiritual or physical health, it's also about social justice and to live in an equitable world, us and for Earth and all the beings in it. Rameras.
Well, I look forward to so many things. Like honestly, so many that it's even hard to start to describe. But I think what I was looking forward the most is about our togetherness and just having each other and being here for each other and all the possibilities that emerge of being together. And yeah, so that was very important for me. So I want to acknowledge and celebrate again the fact that we're here together, but also I'm very conscious of like so many dear friends that for various reasons they were not able to attend the event, either because they are taking care of someone back at home, the organizations themselves, visa issues. So I really want to be aware and grateful of the fact that we are here, but let's not forget that this is not everything. And I will just invite everyone to kill all the preconceived ideas that we might have, and even myself, that I might have about what well-being is, and allow ourselves to go into the sessions to gain new perspectives. I think that's really rich and powerful every single time. And lastly, I wanted to say that many exciting things are happening and will definitely continue to happen, but one worry that I have, I don't have children at the moment, but I look forward to. However, if people ask me what keeps you awake at night, hopefully children really soon, but at the moment, what keeps me up at night is recognizing that the sector, the field, the social innovation field has become so visible lately and so relevant as well. But I think it comes with a really important thing that we have to focus on and we have to solve because we're all collectively responsible. So I've seen a new generation, mostly of youngsters, intoxicated and seduced by the idea of becoming social entrepreneurs for the wrong reasons. Usually fame, usually visibility, usually magazines and panels. And we were discussing this backstage, and we were actually terrified of being here on stage. Because if this was the reason that moves us inside, it's definitely not sustainable. And we have to work together as cohorts. For instance, I love the fact that we have the higher education cohort, because we have to make sure that they want to be part of solving challenges for the right reasons. Yeah. Because it's the only way we will make sure that there will be sustainable through our well-being journey, right?
Yeah. Thank you. And Suparna, you have the last 3 minutes and the most important one. I know you want to leave us with a surprise, so I leave it up to you on how do you want to guide us through that last 3 minutes, including your answer perhaps on the question.
Okay, thanks. I'll very quickly, there's just two things I want to, sort of share.
Can you put your microphone closer?
With respect to, one is the hope of greater integration of the idea of consciousness in education, right? Spirituality and consciousness. The second hope I have from the summit itself and the next few days is it possible for us to break these silos, funders, social entrepreneurs, higher education. Let's just build a network of networks, because that's the only way, I think, that we are going to be able to shift the paradigm, the kind of transformation we need right now. We needed it before, actually. We are late. Yeah. But if we can just do that, it would be wonderful, right? Yeah.
We have a guest to invite here.
Yeah.
I know a guest that I know you like and love as much as we all do. So may I welcome Gerald back to the stage. Thank you. And we are in your both good hands, Suparna and Gerald. We can stay.
So this is a prayer for universal well-being. Those in the audience who know this prayer, I invite you to please join us from wherever you are. The transliteration is on the screen or coming up, yes. And this is a prayer for universal well-being. It's in Sanskrit, and Gerald and I are going to lead you through it.
The backup singers.
Backup singers, yeah.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah
सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
That's beautiful. May all be happy. May none fall ill.
Thank you so much.
May all see auspiciousness everywhere. May none ever feel sorrow. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Thank you very, very, very much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate it.